to the Lady Boss Show. It brings me great pleasure to be your host. And in case you're wondering, I'm Janise. And today we have an extra special show lined up for you. So ladies and the men who love us, grab your cup of joe, sit way back and enjoy the hour with me. My special guest today is none other than Thora Espinet. She is going to be passing on what I call inspirational wisdom. So I am absolutely glad that you have decided to tune in today to the Lady Boss TV 1 YouTube channel, and I hope you come on back and get some inspirational words. I'm telling you, it will be worth it. Hello and welcome back. And thank you once again for tuning in to the Lady Boss Show. We are here with none other than Thora Espinet. Hello, Thora.
Hi.
Now I have to tell everybody that you are a former deputy judge and you actually sat as a chair on the Canada Pension Plan Tribunal. Am I right about that?
You're correct, yes.
Yes. So just before we came on, I was asking you what did you do as a chair on the Canada Pension Plan Tribunal?
Well, basically, in order for you to be a chair of the tribunal, they have changed the name now, so it's under a different name.
Mm-hmm.
Or to be a deputy judge, you have to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be practicing for at least 10 years.
Wow.
So I was called to the Ontario Bar in 1984. And at that time, I think I was among the very few black women who were called at that time.
Now I know you say very few, and if anyone knows Thora, Thora is just incredible in terms of what you have accomplished in your life and the role model that you have come to be for everybody to kind of want to be like Thora. I don't want to be like Mike. I want to be like Thora for real. You're very inspirational, and the thing what I like about you, Thora, is you're just doing it. You're not one day saying one day I'm going to get, and as probably people don't know, but you received the Lieutenant Governor Alexander's award, and that is an award. It's not given to everyone. It's given to people that have really made a mark in their field and made a difference in what you do in your case in your legal field.
Yeah, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you feel about that?
Oh, I was really excited because you're chosen by members of your own peer group.
Mm-hmm.
So my nomination was made by another lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
and I was supported by several other lawyers.
Wow.
So I was really pleased for that.
Wow. So do you remember where you were when you heard the news? Was it like one of those, exactly what time it was, what you were wearing? And
as a matter of fact, I do remember because the treasurer of the Law Society phoned me,
Uh-huh.
and I was at home.
Yes.
And he said, I'm pleased to tell you. And I think that I sort of tuned out because I wasn't certain.
you have to pinch yourself. Am I awake?
No, and then the next couple of days I got a letter to the same effect. I know I did say thank you, but I wasn't quite sure what was said. Thank you.
You have to see if this is April Fool or what have you. But that's just the humbleness in you, because you probably didn't even realize. I bet you thought, why me, right? Probably right away, You probably thought, why? You know what I mean? Was that one of the things that crossed your mind, or?
No, not necessarily, because, I really believe that they have these awards and they're there for purpose. And some people, you have to look that they don't just give awards to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody have to recognize you to
Mm-hmm.
that you're good enough to put your name
Mm-hmm.
forward.
Mm-hmm.
The nominations committee of the Law Society, I'm sure they had a lot of names.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of people who were nominated.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was a great honor to be the one that was chosen.
Yeah. And you were mentioning that, when you were coming up, you were one of the few black women in, becoming a lawyer at that time. If I recall correctly, you were probably one of the first black women lawyer in the GTA, let alone Canada, in that analysis. When you were taking your classes and becoming a lawyer, was there anybody, like, of color that you can recall?
When I went to law school, as a matter of fact, as a result of the Lincoln Alexander Award, I realized that I was the only black woman
Wow.
in the class of 82.
Wow.
And as a result of University of Windsor recognizing that, they have also asked me to represent the class of 82 for their 50th anniversary. So that was really great, because I'm going to be quite frank with you. I went to law school. I went to law school because I had a purpose.
Yes.
I was not looking around to see that I was the only person there.
Yeah.
So it took them, 30-something years for them to come and tell me that I was the only person there.
Wow.
Because that wasn't important to me.
Yeah.
What was important to me was that I was trying to get an education for myself, because I find that it's very important that you're self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important that black women in particular are self-sufficient, and that we make something for ourselves. Nobody is going to give you anything.
That's what I like about what people consider trailblazers. Like, you are a trailblazer. And every single trailblazer that I've talked to, they all say they were not doing it to one day to become known as a trailblazer. Yeah. They were doing it because they had purpose, they had a family that they had to mouths to feed, they had kids looking up to them, you know what I mean? So they were doing it for a purpose, you know what I mean? And like when you said you were doing it for purpose, what was your purpose at that time?
But I think that the main impetus for me doing anything, when I was raised in England, when I came to Canada, I came to Canada because I worked at British Airways. And I didn't see that there was any upward mobility there. Mm-hmm. And then I came to Canada. When I first came to Canada, I tried to apply for the airlines here. And I couldn't get in an airline because I remember one lady saying to me, oh, the desk must have been lower. And then they would ask me for Canadian experience and French. But I made up. So
they had that thing, when you came in, that the Canadian experience was one of the main reasons why they were...
Oh no, that wasn't the main reason. The reason why they asked for Canadian experience then and they ask for Canadian experience now is to exclude people. Because if you do not get into a place, then you cannot learn anything. Well, sometimes these things work for the best for you. Because I made up my mind that they were not going to ask me for anything. That the only thing that they asked me for that I have not attained, that was learning French.
It's not too late. Me and you together, we can learn French.
I didn't learn French, so I was glad in a way because I couldn't get a job. So I decided that I was going to do something else. But it was,
So that was a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing in disguise. And then I worked for a firm. It was Massey Ferguson, and I don't think they don't exist anymore. But I worked there, and there was a fellow there was really strange. He used to say to me, next time you come back to Ontario, you have to be a judge. I had no intention of going to law school.
Wow.
And then it was...
Why do you think he said that? It was just because of your...
Because he used to come and ask me all these questions, and I would think, because whether people like it or not, law is very hard work, but you also need to have a mind that thinks that way as well. And even so my husband went to London, Ontario, and I went and I did a paralegal course. It was called a legal administration course. And there was...
Is that when you kind of fell in love with the whole law, becoming a lawyer?
As a matter of fact, while I was there, the professor said to me, I can't believe that you have never worked into a law office because you have so much aptitude for law. And then I came back down, and when I came, there were a couple of other women there, like Marva J. Martin. There was a lady by the name of Marlene Phillips. And of course I went to Charles Roach's office and things like that. So I really went there back. But then I remember going into Charles Roach's office for a job. And he said to me, you can be the greatest paralegal or law clerk or whatever they call you. You'll never make the money, or you'll never have the prestige.
Wow.
Well, I've never made the money, but I don't know about the prestige.
Well, I think well, with the awards and with, the fact that they're inviting you, I think you made the prestige.
It's safe to say. So I decided that's what I want to do. But I also
So
wanted.
he was one of your mentors then.
He was one of my
Yeah,
mentors,
yeah.
and then
But you know what's nice about what he did for you is he didn't see you as a threat. I'll say it like that because he was a lawyer at the time. And
Oh yes, he was.
he was telling you, look,
yeah.
we need more people like you in the field.
And I really don't think that people like Charles Roach and Marva J. Martin, these people get the credit for what they have done in the time when they did it, because even when I got the Lincoln Alexander Award, I had to refer to these people who must have fought really, really hard to have gotten where they achieved what they achieved. Because even when I came out, things were very, very hard. I mean, to hear some of the things that people would say to me, and that made it better for me, because I thought, who tell you that I want to work for you?
Yeah.
So
what were some of the, do you remember some of the things, or was it like you just put it there, you plant it, and you forget about it?
Well, people were very polite. I mean, people were not saying, well, we pretend a bit more now, so we can cover everything.
Which one would you rather? Would you rather them pretend, or would you rather them kind of say, this is how I feel?
I would rather them tell me how I feel, because then I would tell them how I feel too. And they did tell me how they felt, and I told them how I felt too. But it's not very nice words to say on radio, so I wouldn't say that. But the good thing about people, every disadvantage is an advantage. It depends on how you take it. So when I eventually finished, I opened my own office. I can make a determination what I do in my office. Because I have my own office, I used to do a lot of work with young offenders. And that was where I used to mentor these kids. And I would go to the schools, and I get calls from people who say, oh, because of you I went to law school. Well, considering the fact that I've never seen you before in my life. But then when I say, well, I do not really know you, they would say, well, you came to our school, or you came to this. And I remember once, a lady came to my office, and she didn't believe that I was a lawyer.
Wow.
So she phoned.
Why didn't she believe it? Was it just
because people didn't believe that black people were lawyers.
Wow.
So she phoned the Better Business Bureau.
Wow.
And she told the Better Business Bureau that there was this lady that was pretending to be a lawyer. So the Better Business Bureau phoned me and said that there's this lady who's saying that you're being a lawyer. So do you want to join the Better Business Bureau? And I said, no. And I wrote an article. And this was an article that I wrote about perception and whatever, how people we don't even believe in ourselves. And if you don't believe in yourself, you can't believe in somebody like you. So what happened with that article was...
Do you still have that article?
It's somewhere around.
You should find it. Because
but what happened with that article, I got an interview on one of the radio stations. There was a teacher from, I think it was Bramley Secondary School. She called me and asked me to speak to her kids. And there were several teachers who called me and asked me to speak to their students. And I remember there was a man who called, and I can't remember his name, that was such a long time ago. And he was an Irishman. He said, I am Irish. I used to live in England, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And he said, I am doing things with computers, and if you need computers for your kids, I will be able to help you. I didn't follow up on that. But this was the type of response that I got from the lady believing that I could not be a lawyer, and writing that article, and the response that came from that. And it was... So
you took it to a pen in terms of just, instead of getting upset, and you kind of express yourself.
I don't get upset.
Yes.
I think that people get upset, and as I said to you when we had that last meeting, I said, he who angers you conquers you. And
that was something. So just to tell everybody, when we did I Am Woman Hear Me Roar, Thora was one that sat on the panel, and it was basically women like yourself trailblazing it and being successful and still having the voice. And the one thing that stuck with everybody was that saying, he who angers you conquers you. And there's so many people after that event, they live by those words. They literally will see something happen, and then they'll just calm themselves and say, he who angers you conquers you.
Because you see, the most important thing about that if you get angry, it's not helping the situation. And I will tell anybody that what you need to know your history. You need to know the other person's history. Because when you say to a person, well, this is what happened to you, and if, for example, I was listening to a man the other day, and he said that he became very good friends with a member of the Ku Klux Klan. But what had happened, the member of the Ku Klux Klan figured that he could not be the person who was the author of certain music. And he said to him, the fellow from the Ku Klux Klan said to him, well, everybody knows that black people are innately cruel.
This is the member of the KKK.
Yeah. And he said to him, tell me how many mass murderers do you have who are black?
Wow.
Tell me how many things. So if you know these things about people, you can use that same thing to go back to them and say, okay then, tell me who did this, tell me who did that. And unless they can tell you that it's from your group, then it's them.
Wow.
So you see, so it helps for you to at least know a little bit of your history.
That's what you mean by
know a little bit of your history, because you know, and this is what I do all the time. And I will say to somebody, if you did this, then whatever would happen. So it's not enough when you get mad at somebody and start swearing at somebody. It doesn't help you and it doesn't help the situation. It's also important that you know that if you are nice to somebody, people are horrible to you. If you're nice to them, it's very, very difficult for them to be horrible to you.
There's an old saying, kill them with kindness, right?
Yeah. So I have an example. I went out to the West End once. I don't like driving, so I drove on the highway, and I did not know how to get back home because the highway was closed. They were doing the police check that time. The policeman stopped me. When he stopped me, I rolled down my window and says, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you." The police officer said to me, "People have called me all sorts of things, but they have never called me God before." No, but you understand, so normally when they stop somebody, they
start to say, "Where did you stop me for?" And they get
the person's entitled, they're hostile. But for me, I just thought to myself, God put that police officer there, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to see you." But if I had said, "Well, what did you stop me for?" His reaction would have been different. And he gave me all the directions how to get where I'm going, using the back roads. And then when he finished, he said, "Did you have anything to drink tonight?" But he could have said that the first time when I call him God. You know, but this is the type of thing that you do, and I think that it's important that we teach our young people not to let people get them upset and not to deal with it in the other way. You know, when I first started in the course, I used to have all
a lot of times when they also use it as a way to get in your head. Because once you get upset, you're not thinking straight.
Oh, you're not thinking
straight. So that's another thing. It's almost like a tool. If they know what buttons to push, that's why sometimes.
And you know, as a lawyer, and I think that it still happens now. I remember going out to Brampton, and I had a young offender out there. And of course you go to court, you're all dressed up in your, and then you have your briefcase. And I walked up to the duty counsel room and I said to the duty counsel, "Can you tell me where the young offenders are?" He said, "Well, madam, if you go and ask, the Crown's office is around there, so if you want to go and ask him where your son is, then that will think." And I said, "Oh, you are so good. I thought I would have fooled you by coming up here with a briefcase and dressing up like I'm a lawyer." And and we became very good friends.
Wow.
You see, so I didn't get angry at him and say, "Well, don't you think that don't you think I could be a lawyer?" That's how I dealt with it. You know, and I have loads of things like that. And that's how I deal with them, and they just sit back and laugh.
So now you you disarm him just by the reaction. Was like he wasn't expecting that. He was expecting
he wouldn't have expected that. He wouldn't have expected that.
So you,
because I could have reacted like the lady that was with me was a black lady. I said, look and learn. Because these are the type of things that you need to learn. And I find that with young people, it's not taught in the schools how to deal with adversity. So because it's not taught in school what to deal with adversity, they watch television and they see how people act out.
It's so funny you say that because I covered an event the other day, as you know, being publisher of Snap Scarborough, we get to go out there and capture events. And there was an event at Netwin's Place. The individual, and unfortunately the name slips me, but he's doing the Think and Grow Rich Institution.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said was that the schools do not teach them basically how to, like situations where what happened with you in the courthouse, or adversity, or people coming at them in a way that is confrontational, or things that happen in their life that is not successful. They only teach them how to get a job, but they don't teach them what happens when they don't get a job, or when they don't get into their field, or when they get a job but they're treated unfairly, unjustly. So then they start to have breakdowns. Do you see what I mean? Like that's not taught in the school.
And also how to accept constructive criticism.
Yes.
That's another thing that children are not taught. Because for example, somebody come in my office, they're coming into a law office. You do not come into my law office and dress up as if you're going to Carabana. So when you come and I say to you, you realize that it takes 30 seconds to make an impression. Well, for you, it took me half a second. Because obviously you're not coming into a law office dressed as if you're going to Carabana. So instead of but what I will do, you can go back and I'll give you the chance, the opportunity to come back and come back in as if you're going to be working at a law office. Because when you leave this office, you represent my office. And I remember I had a young fellow. He came in and he used to dress up in his suit and go downtown.
Wow.
Every time I sent him downtown. And he used to go downtown. And people always, I know that he's from Thora's office. You have to represent the place where you worked.
But the thing about it though, what I like in terms of, how you ran your office was, you ran your office, you really did care. Like there's many lawyers out there that, don't get me wrong, money does make the world go around, and I know at the end of the day, you need to keep your lights on, but that's not what was driving you to keep going and to, then to become the deputy, judge, and those are not the things that was driving you. It was really trying to help people so when they left your office, or when they, finished with your professional service, they were better for it. They were, they became better people.
The most important thing for me, whatever position that I'm in, is that the black kids see a role model there. When a black kid come into court and see that there's a black judge there, they are so happy because they do not believe. The society has told them that they can't make it.
Yes.
I remember years ago, I was the children's lawyer in a case. No, I was the lawyer for the mother, and there was another lady who was a children's lawyer. And I was walking down the hall at 1911. And when I was walking down there, the lawyer who represented the child said, "Here comes the mother's lawyer." And he said, "Oh, no, that can't be my mother's lawyer, because black people can't be lawyers."
Wow.
So what I did, there's a video, it's called Black History, Lost, Stolen, or Strayed. And I got that, and at that time, I was the president of an organization called the Afro-Canadian Congress. So what we did, we got that video and we showed it to those kids. At the end of this kid was so pleased that he was black and all the accomplishment of black people.
Wow.
You see? So I think that it's very important that you have those models there. If you're going to get a degree or you're going to get something and you're going to go and sit up on the perch and think, look how important I am, you have achieved nothing. And the reason for that is because most people, most communities are seen in terms of the community as a whole. They are not seen as an individual. So no matter how great I become, if my community is not part and they're not great, nobody will recognize you. One thing a lot of people don't recognize, there are lots of black people outside there who are accomplishing a lot of things. But because we are soul people, we are singular, nobody even recognizes that we have done anything. And I think that is rather unfortunate. I was talking to a lady, her name is Avis Glaze. She's a fantastic educator, known worldwide. And she said to me, when you lift, I think she said, when you climb, you lift. And we always have to lift up the other person. Always have your hand out so that you can take that other child with you. And that is what I do. I am on the board of Tropicana Community Services, and they have programs here for young people. And it's important just to talk to these young people because they probably have never seen people in the positions that we are in. And what I want them to know is that whatever there is out there, you can get there. I went to law school, I was the only one around. I wasn't looking around for anybody. I just knew that nobody was going to determine where I live, how I live, what car I drive, what clothes I wear, or what I eat. I was going to make that determination myself.
All because when you went to you get experience here, they said you had no Canadian experience.
No, but you see,
you didn't want anyone to determine your destiny.
Determine my destiny, and this is what happens when you're dependent on anybody, anybody whatsoever, whether it's a country that's dependent on another country, or a person that is dependent on somebody else. At least if you have something for yourself, you have the entrepreneurial spirit, you can make something for yourself.
So when you say about being individual and then that you give back, you sell in Tropicana and you do all these great things to make sure that the community is also lifted, was it something that, what was that, how did it, how did that mindset come to be? Was it just something that you knew you had to do because of those experiences?
No, not necessarily. We came from a family where, from we were small, my grandmother, I went to England when all of us were raised in England mostly. And my grandmother used to tell us, she used to say, don't laugh at the little kids out there without shoes, because every single one of you were born without shoes. So nobody is better than the other person. What we did in England, there's 7 of us, and we're all quite progressive. You met my brother, he's an engineer, and I had 2 other brothers, they're both dead, but they were engineers. I also went to engineering school because my brother told me that if he could do it, I could do it as well.
So there was no boundaries.
There was no boundaries, and so
growing up.
When I came here and I hear people saying, well, you must be lucky because your husband sent you to law school. My husband didn't send me to law school. We were raised,
But see, that's how they try to justify it. Like to say, well, how come she did it and I can't? So they're like, oh, because he did that. If you
want something, you go and get it. And this is what I want these kids to know. But what we did volunteer work from the very first time. What we have in our house then in England, we had what we call a motivational wall. And every time somebody graduated, their picture went up on that wall.
That's a really good idea.
And we used to pick out all the kids, we mentor all the kids in the community. And each one of us did that, not just me, each one of us did that. So we'd bring those kids in and you'd say, you see that wall there? You can be on that wall.
Wow.
And I remember one year, there were 5 grandchildren that graduated from university in 1 year. Because everybody was envious of the other one.
They want to be on the
You're not getting up at that wall,
Yeah.
and I'm getting up there. So there was that even competition among the grandchildren.
Do you have, where's that motivational wall right now?
The motivational wall was in my mother's house when we were in England.
Yeah.
But of course my parents are dead, so it's no longer there.
But I'm sure there's a picture or something.
But my siblings in England, they still continue
That's really good.
to do voluntary work, and this is something that we do always.
I think you've probably inspired a few people right now to get the motivational wall. I actually think that's really, and it's a simple thing, but yet it's a really good thing.
It's a simple thing because it's a simple thing. Because all you have to do is put up the first person who have graduated from law school or from college or whatever, and you always point to that wall. You want to be on that wall? When are you going up on that wall?
Yeah.
You see, so everybody worked towards that wall.
I remember, I've had the good fortune of, having great conversations with you. And I remember, you said that your mom said that there's no excuse in terms of getting bad grades or, the teacher don't like you. I remember
and anybody who comes from England would know that England has a very we have to be realistic. There's racism everywhere you go. But God didn't put me on earth because he felt that I was second class to anybody. And that was how we were raised. If you do not want to be a second class citizen, you don't make yourself into second class citizen. You make yourself into a first class citizen. By doing that, you go out there. You have to realize that education is key. And I know that people are looking at what is happening in the world today, and they're saying, what is the use of having this education? Well, I hear kids say to me, well, it takes so much time. What I say to them, if you think that education takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, and takes a lot out of your enjoyment of life, just try poverty, and you'll see the difference. You'll know that the time that you have put into your education is going to be worth it.
Wow. I'm telling you, what you say, I was just saying that the way you talk and because of your experience and because you really want to lift up the community, that your wisdom goes far past becoming legal advice or how to become a lawyer. And one of the things I wanted to know from you is, do you think it's harder? Do you think it's tougher today to get ahead? To become a lawyer or to become a doctor or to become just whatever they want to be. Do you think it's harder?
I think that it's harder to become anything today because the dynamics have changed. We have IT in intelligence, whatever computers.
Yes.
So we have all those things there. But what you need to become anything, a lawyer, doctor, whatever thing, you need to be motivated and you need to be committed. And that doesn't, if you're going to play baseball, you're going to play basketball, you have to be committed and you have to be motivated. And when you realize what you have to do also, you have to be flexible. Because with things changing the way they are, when I left law school, we didn't have computers. So you have to be flexible and be able to move with the times. Because if you're standing up and the train is moving, and you do not jump on that train, you're still going to be at the station. So the most important thing, although you're getting education, you need to be flexible at the end.
And you know what? In terms of what you just said, I have so many of my friends who completed their university, got their degree and everything, and most of them, if not all of them, are not doing anything in their field.
Because they do not know how to use what they have. If somebody gives you a knife is there to cut whatever it's there to cut. But you can also use the knife to do something else. So it's not just a paring knife to peel apples. You might be able to use it to cut thread to make something else. So you have to be flexible because the world is moving and you have to be there to move along with it. And it's harder now to complain because nobody's listening.
It's true. Everybody now, I think everybody's just trying to keep their heads and keep going. So it's not that they're not listening, it's just that they've got so much things on their plate that...
because, it's things are harder now. In certain respect, things are harder now because there's only so much left of the pie. There was one time when people, women and men and everybody was competing for the same piece of pie. But now we have another little person that's come in there that's bigger than the men, women, and all the people who are competing. It's called technology. And we were just talking about, I think we were talking about some of the fast food restaurants, where instead of having somebody doing the cooking or whatever.
Yes, we were talking about
they
that.
will be in
The
those
technology.
people. Those people will be out of jobs.
Well, look at the cashier. When you go shopping now,
Yeah.
when the minimum wage went up, a lot of them said, okay, well, we're just going to have automated cashiers.
Yes. So all those people are out of jobs. So this is, you're going to have to keep your eyes open and make sure that when one door closes, you try and see if you can open another door, because we can't push back technology. We don't like it, but we can't push it back. So what we're going to have to do, we are going to have to adapt.
When you talk about motivation, how when growing up for us, it was ambition. Like, you have to have ambition. You have to be able to know what you want to do in life and just kind of stick with that. You know, if you have no ambition, it's hard for you to
I think that
go forward.
that was something that was in our family, in everybody's family when you make it. You have to ambition. And I told you what my mother said. My mother had this thing, we even had a cat. And I tell people about this cat all the time. And people laugh. Because you wouldn't believe, people think that dogs can be trained, cat can't be. Try our cat. We always talk about Lucky was called. My mother said if she has a dog and it doesn't have ambition, she'll kill it. She don't literally mean that she'll kill it. She means that
her mom loves animals.
It was
Theoretically speaking.
Yeah, we had a cat, and this cat was so smart. This cat knew that I didn't live there, and when I came there, he would lock me out of my mother. I couldn't go in my mother's chair. So that was how smart the cat was. And that was what my mother was basically saying, if I can have a cat, and he can be so smart,
if he can have
you're
ambition.
born with a human brain, so
true.
you can do it. So when there's nothing, these kids don't realize how good they are. How, I dealt with a lot of young offenders. I have yet to meet one of those young offenders that was not smart. They're very, very smart, but nobody tell them that they're smart.
And that's the key,
Nobody's told them that they were smart. Maybe the first time when they hear that,
they actually don't even
you can
believe
do this, they don't believe it. And there's another thing that's holding back, and I'm just talking about black kids now. There's another thing that's holding back black kids. They think that if they get into trouble, then that is the end of their lives. It's not. The other day I was watching a program from the States, and one of the professors in the university was a fellow who spent a lot of time in jail. But when he was in jail, he did his own appeal, he did his own whatever had to be done. And because he did that, he was employed. And people don't realize that there was a lady who was called to the Ontario Bar recently who was committing all sorts of fraud. She got a pardon and she's now practicing law.
Wow.
So just because you have been in trouble, and I meet these kids in court all the time and I say to them, well, what you doing? They say, well, I can't. Of course you can. You turn over a new leaf. If you were in trouble, you can get a pardon. And you turn over a new leaf and you go out there and you just start over and you do things just like everybody else has done.
What was one of the young offenders that came into your office and needed your help, and you managed to get them out of trouble or put them back on the straight? Which is one of the most memorable for you, or the one that really touched your heart?
There's one little fellow that I had, and I have to laugh because his name, they disclose his name and they should not have disclosed it. But this young fellow, the teachers was afraid of him, everybody was afraid of him. You know what was the problem with this kid? This kid was bigger than the other kids in the class, and he could not read.
Wow.
And the teacher would always call on him to read the board. And of course he used to get in a temper. He was my best client because I realized exactly what was wrong with him. All he needed was a tutor, and then he would think. And I think he thought that I was his mother. And he was getting in trouble, and I suggested to his mother that the environment that he was in Toronto was not good for him. So I suggested that they move, and they moved out to Brampton.
Wow. So but they were coachable too. Because some people would hear that and say, "Oh, you don't know my son," and
no.
So you learn how to read, and
he was good. When he gets a girlfriend, he comes and tells me, I said, that's good enough for you.
Wow.
Get rid of
Do you
it.
still keep in contact with him today?
No, I have lots of contact with a lot of these kids, but sometimes I'm walking on the street and adults come up to me and say, "You remember me?" And I'm thinking, "How would ever remember you?" you know.
Wow.
But they're still out there.
Yeah, so
you know.
thousands and thousands of, and you continue to make a difference in thousands and thousands of lives. And this is why I told my people that today we are getting inspirational wisdom. Thora, I cannot begin to tell you how much of a pleasure it always is to talk with you, conversate with you, and I know that today, at minimum, I know there's a lot of people that's going to get a motivational wall today, and I know that, you know, that today, just having this conversation, you have already touched a few more lives. So I thank you for coming.
I have, you know, because we cannot continue to be in the back of the bus. We have to be the driver.
I like that. That
Thank
is
you
a
very much.
perfect way to end. We cannot be in the back of the bus. We have to be the driver. And those are words to live by. And I thank you, Thora. And you know what? She has to come back again. I think we can all agree that we can always get more Thora. I thank you for joining me today. And to my people, keep it locked to the Lady Boss TV YouTube channel. And thank you for joining us this week. And I should say, it's not just the Lady Boss TV channel, because no, it's the Lady Boss TV 1 YouTube channel. And I hope that you continue to tune in and get some great inspirational wisdom like my beautiful guest here, Thora Espinet. Thank you, and I will see you next time.